it's time to move on to the next panel. And the panel of Nomadism and Culture in Kyrgyzstan to be chaired by Dr. Elira Tordubaeva from International Alto University. Please welcome Elira.
Thank you very much. Let me introduce our panel participants. Seyitbek Tilekov, Vice Rector of the Alto International University. Aida Abduldaeva, Journalism Department of Alto International University. Gulzada Narmamatova, Faculty at Social Sciences and Humanities Department of International Alto University. Please have your seats. This panel is about nomadism and culture in Kyrgyzstan. The research papers of this panel analyze the role of Manas storytelling in Kyrgyz nomadic culture, Kyrgyz language acquisition in the age of digital nomadism, Tengrian and shamanism beliefs in nomadism in Kyrgyzstan. So the authors will discuss the results of their research and present their documentary films. The aim of the panel is to reflect on the impact of nomadism on culture and vice versa. So first, our panelist, Seyitbek Tilekov. His research is on the role of Manas storytelling in Kyrgyz nomadic culture.
Good afternoon, dear guests, dear colleagues, саламатсыздар урматтуу бүгүнкү эл аралык конференциянын катышуучулары. Биринчиден мен өзүм толкундануу менен бир кыскача ыраазычылыгымды айткым келет. Себеби биздин алдыбыздагы панелдер жөнүндө кыскача. Биринчиден бизге өтө жогорку мотивация берген кызыктуу бир презентациялар болду. Бизде өзүбүздөн бул нерседен байкап аптырбыз. Баягы биз эми сувенир катары эле мындай эме кылып продукция катары көргөнбүз, бирок мунун артында аябай чоң бир маани бар экен, чоң бир жумуш жатат экен бүгүн өзгөчө байкап атабыз. Ошон үчүн биринчиден сиздерге ыраазычылык билдиребиз жана сыймыктанабыз. Ушу жогорку дүйнөлүк деңгээлде бул жумуштун ушу өздөрүнүн дүйнөсү санат менен ошо искусство менен толгон кишилердин жумушу менен ошо дүйнөлүк деңгээлге качествосудай өзүнүн атагы Кыргызстандын атагын да чыгарып аткан үчүн бир аз азыр эле айтып кеткендей National Geographic журналында чыгыптыр. Өтө сыймыктануу менен сиздерге ыраазычылык билдиргим келет. So first of all, I would like to thank for organizers of this international conference, and we are very grateful to be a member of this and participant of this international conference. So, and also I would like to thank for the other panel presenters, presenters inspired us. We are delighted to listen those presenters because we are proud of their works as they created very qualitative, prestigious crafts and other our symbols. So thank you very much for other presenters as well. So and just the panel was about art industry in Kyrgyzstan. So we are going to switch into the entertainment industry in Kyrgyzstan. So we are going to focus on it's normally ongoing research, still ongoing. We are at the beginning of the research, but we will try to precisely tell about our research aim and purpose, what we are expecting, what we are trying to describe in here. So normally, as you know, but in the different centuries, mostly people try to persuade people or inform people, or knowledge is given by the different kind of contents and the methods. So some of them are verbal in some centuries, some of them are today, for example, more visual contents are delivered to the society and persuaded and entertainment the society. So in here, our purpose was tell about from the historical period, it's still ongoing, but generally it became more important in like a soap cinema, like an entertainment, media entertainment in our, especially at the end of the 19th century and at the beginning of the 20th centuries. So people came together, especially nomadic Kyrgyz society came together in the different places and listened, and they were so interested into this narrative storytelling, as we call the manaschi, or manas storytelling. So like they are watching soap cinema, like they are listening very interesting stories. So what is that? We try to, now in this study, we are trying to describe this unseen linkage between the manas epic, between the manaschi, who is telling narrative storyteller, who is using his artistic performance as well during this situation, during this performance. So, and also third part is about the audience, Kyrgyz nomadic society. So we will try to describe, normally there are too many research about this, but what we are expecting in here is to describe this triangle linkage between or connection with relationship between these three main parts. So first part, okay, as you see from here that these are the main, as Aristotle also mentions in his persuasion technique, is that he mentions about the three main triangle or three main terms, ethos, logos, and pathos. These are the very important terms in persuasion. And we are also trying to, in here, to look up to from three main perspectives. One is Manaschi, who is narrative storyteller of the Manas epic. And the other one is the content itself, the Manas epic, one of the hugest epic in the world, which is more than 500,000 lines, according to the Sayakh Karalaev's version. And the third perspective is nomadic Kyrgyz society, and how normally we are on the way to look up this atmosphere and how those audiences are attracted to this event or this storytelling. So, so as you know that we generally in Kyrgyz society, verbal communication was more focused onto the verbal communication, more used this technique was the verbal communication, and written communication somehow was the missing or lack in Kyrgyz people or in Kyrgyz history. So Manas is one of the verbal famous epic in Kyrgyz society or Kyrgyz nation. It's not only epic, it's the hugest, one of the largest epic that consists of not only narrative story, but also it includes the history of Kyrgyz nation. It includes the language, it includes the religion, it includes the environment, it includes the communication between the Kyrgyz nomadic culture and Kyrgyz nomadic society with the environment and the nature as well. So it consists of all those different parts that is contained in this largest epic. So that's why we are trying to look up to as a content analysis, the Manas epic itself also. So, and what about nomadic Kyrgyz society? As we didn't have the written books or the materials, generally people were listening Manas, and there was very interesting connection and linkage between the Manas storytelling and the audience. And also we made a few interviews with the different Manas storytellers, and the close relatives with the Mana storytellers, and how the atmosphere in here happens, or what is how Mana's epic is becoming so interesting for those audiences when they are listening, and what is the linkage, the unseen linkage between those audience and the Mana's teller. So as one of the listener or Mana storyteller explains his experience about this, that when the audience are sitting behind the Mana storyteller, normally they are those storytellers, those audiences are also linking into the story of this narrative story, into this narrative story so interestingly that they cannot feel outside of this story. They feel that they are living inside this story. So in here is, of course, they are the two factors of the audience. They are the factors of the storyteller artistic performance, and also how this epic grammatically, lexicologically, and from other perspectives, how it's constructed. This Mana's epic is also a very important factor in here as well. So we are also trying to look up to these different factors, what is the unseen linkage between them. So and we mentioned about the Mana's epic, that how large is it, and what contains historical background of this Mana's epic. So now there will be interview also with the other Mana storytellers and some older people who experienced these or listen to those famous Mana storytellers. So we will make an interview with them. Try to describe those linkage or connection between them, and also there will be qualitative analysis. Especially in-depth interviews with them, with the audience, and also Mana storytellers, about their artistic performance. And now we are more trying to focus on to the content analysis, how we are going to describe the Mana's epic. So in here we are doing this research with the expert in psycholinguistics, Professor Alimjan Zakirov. He will look up to the from content side, philology and linguistics side, and he is doing content analysis about, and using the Anthony Buzan's mind map model that is used in the teaching normally. And Mana's epic will be also divided into parts. What Anthony Buzan states that with the mind map, he is explaining how our brain or mind is processing the new information or previous information in our mind. So he's dividing into the cards or the map of this, that each part in here, as we described in 7 parts, can be also divided into more parts and into the deep parts. So, Mana's epic will be also divided into those divisions in order to understand the contents in here. And today, especially as our participants also described, that we have the crisis, we have the problems today that makes this Mana's epic volumes that is ordered by the Mana's epic, that the 7 main orders for young generation that should be also taught. Once our nations tried to make this 7 orders as a national ideology. They tried to structure in this way, but this is the discussive point. But I mean in here that in the Mana's epic, it especially focus on to the 7 main things that our communication with the neighbors, our communication with the environment, our inner communication and with the outside communication. All of these values are also described in here. That also will be divided in the content analysis with the mind map model. In here, Professor Alimjan Zakirov is trying to describe the monotypic with the dividing into the cards or the maps in different with the different perspective, like grammar characteristics and phraseological characteristics and emotional expressions in the epic, and from different perspective he will analyze with the details in order to find out the relationship between these three main parts of this study. So this is shortly about that we are trying to do. So this is ongoing research, and we will be glad to share with you the results when we will finish this research. Thank you very much. If you have questions, I would be pleased to listen.
Thank you very much. Questions, I guess, will be in the end here to all speakers. Now let me invite second speaker, Aida Abdulgaeva, Journalism Department. Her paper will be about овладение кыргызским языком в эпоху цифрового кочевничества. Конкурентное преимущество для изучающих кыргызский язык как иностранный. It's about Kyrgyz language in the era of digital nomadism, the competencies for people who are learning Kyrgyz language as a second foreign language.
Thank you, dear participants of this conference, dear colleagues, dear Mr. Ashrafi, who led this conference, and his team. It is really my pleasure to be part of the event and have an amazing chance to present my finding, and I think my colleagues feel the same. So it's really a very good opportunity to share with you what we have done so far. So the topic of my today's presentation, as Elira pointed out, is acquisition or learning Kyrgyz language in the era of digital nomadism, so to speak, and how this learning can provide you with competitive advantage. That's probably in a nutshell what my presentation is about. And I would like to speak in Russian and then translate it into English, but I'll try to be very brief, okay? So can you give the next slide? Oh, I don't know. Can you show me how to use it? Because this is just technology that I'm not. Okay. Thank you. So in the recent years in Kyrgyzstan, there's been an increased, in the recent years in Kyrgyzstan, there's been a strong interest or increased interest to studying Kyrgyz language. You may ask me, why do you deal with Kyrgyz language? My colleagues know that I am a specialist. My first degree is in Romano, philology, English language and literature, and German language and literature. And the reason why I decided to take this to research, to do this research, is probably to preserve our cultural heritage, intellectual heritage. And first of all, it's because my dad, Professor Esenkul Abduldaev, that was what he did all his lifetime. He was author of textbooks and on Kyrgyz language and many dictionaries, academic papers, etc. So my brother and I decided to make our contribution and to preserve our cultural, intellectual and educational, scientific heritage. Вы, наверное, спросите, почему я решила взяться за эту тему, хотя я, в общем-то, по образованию филолог, у меня романо-германская филология, но мой отец, покойный профессор Абдулдаев Эсенкул, посвятил этому всю жизнь свою, работая в академии, в высших учебных заведениях Кыргызстана, и он автор многих учебников, и в частности русско-кыргызского, кыргызского-русского словаря, толкового словаря кыргызского языка. Поэтому мы с братом решили внести свой вклад в сохранение нашего интеллектуального потенциала, научного потенциала. Если мы посмотрим, наверное, в вашей лаборатории, извиняюсь, библиотеки, не очень много книг, которые остались с тех времен, а действительно тогда была целая школа, плеяда академическая, которая несла огромный вклад в развитие и продвижение кыргызской филологии, вообще в целом тюркологии. К сожалению, многие из книг становятся раритетом, и это, наверное, неизбежно. Поэтому если создавать, то есть сохранять их, оцифровывая, ну хотя бы, то таким образом можно сохранить что-то из нашего культурного наследия. So, why are we talking about Kyrgyz language at all? Because knowing Kyrgyz language, acquisition of Kyrgyz language by people who want to learn the language as a second language, give them competitive advantage, the advantage to freely communicate with in different spheres of life, social life. And that's probably one of the main reasons. Обучение второму языку, неродному языку, например, в частности, кыргызскому, требует овладения, ну, все это знают, преподаватели знают, базовыми нормами произносительной, грамматической, лексической, фонетической нормой. И в конце 90-х годов в Кыргызстане появился ряд учебников, двуязычных словарей, то есть какое-то возрождение началось, методических пособий, которые были специально разработаны для тех, кто хочет изучать кыргызский язык как второй язык, как неродной. Во-первых, это русскоязычные жители Кыргызстана, а также лица кыргызской национальности, которые, в общем-то, слабо владеют или совсем не владеют, такие тоже у нас есть, не владеют родным языком. So one of the reasons why in the end of the 19th century there was a revival of publications or printing of textbooks, bilingual dictionaries, Russian Kyrgyz language dictionaries, textbooks on methods of teaching, is because the interest to learning Kyrgyz as a second language by those who don't speak language, by Russian speakers, Russian-speaking communities, or even by ethnic Kyrgyz who don't know or know on a very low level their native language. That was the main reason why this process started. Currently, да? Настоящее время. Okay. Currently, this interest to the Kyrgyz language has been stronger and stronger. And when I prepared this presentation, it was probably a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But 3 days ago, we all know that the situation changed dramatically. And with this geopolitical situation in Russia, and with so many people fleeing from Russia and to countries of Central Asia and wherever they can flee, the problem is becoming more and more acute. By this, I mean that more and more digital nomads, so to speak, and actually they are digital migrants, they live in Russia, and that's an evident process. There's nothing that we can do with it. And I don't know how many of them entered Kyrgyzstan, and more will be entering. And I think that some of this, maybe, I don't know the exact proportion, but I think that many of them, especially young people, would like to learn Kyrgyz language and would like to use the tools that can provide them, modern tools that can help them in this process. And parallel to that, there's been a process of re-entry of Kyrgyz migrants to their motherland, to Kyrgyzstan, with their families, with their children, who for some time lost the connection, including the language connection with their native motherland and native language environment. So this issue of Kyrgyz language acquisition has become even more acute at this time. And by that, I just want to note that the language situation has become very challenging and is going to be very challenging here in Kyrgyzstan, which means that we need to create more textbooks, dictionaries, including electronic dictionaries, to help these people learn the languages as soon as possible with all modern tools and with all modern equipment available, independently or within some schools or high institutions or some courses. And with this, I would like to present to you, we call it Большой русско-кыргызский словарь. And this is, I'm not sure what the exact translation will be, but I think it's the big Russian-Kyrgyz electronic dictionary, which contains about 100,000. It is a rough estimate, and I explain why. I want to present to you this product, which contains about 100,000 words, word combinations, phraseological units, proverbs, and sayings, and with the function of reverse translation. By reverse translation, we mean that we have done the Russian Kyrgyz part, but then we understand that this is not enough. So we decided to do a reverse part, which is Kyrgyz Russian, and that was this synergy of modern technology and lexicographic sources. So IT people actually helped us a lot in this. And one of the biggest advantages of this dictionary is that it's been developed by a team, authors team, myself, my brother, and a team of IT specialists as a mobile application based on Android platform for smartphones and based on personal computers, laptops, on Windows platform. And this is, I think, the competitive advantage. You can ask me, what does it have to do with nomadism and nomads in the topic of our conference? I think the relationship is pretty much direct, because we're talking about modern nomads, digital nomads that can use this tool for their, I don't know, for their needs in their language environment. And I would like to show you, next one will be a demonstration that will give you some a more clearer idea of how this mobile application works. And for this, I think I need to, can you just put it on? You will see a demo. Yeah, so it's in Russian, but I think it's self-understandable, self-explainable. There must be some music accompaniment. Oh, never mind. So I don't want to torture you with other demonstrations. This is just a step-by-step demonstration from the point of view of a user. It's really very user-friendly, interactive mobile application. So I don't want to spend much of your time. So let's go to the next slide. And электронный словарь, он очень удобен и имеет ряд преимуществ. Многофункционален, поэтому имеет ряд преимуществ. Во-первых, это возможность поиска слов, возможность сохранять слова, а также целиком словарные статьи, передавать их через через мессенджеры. Также имеется встроенная Google Translate систему вот в сам этот application. И в настоящее время, ну, мы можем сказать без всякого, наверное, стеснения, что это наиболее содержательный, наиболее функциональный, мы можем, наверное, назвать его академическим словарем, электронный словарь современного кыргызского языка. И он основан на синтезе современных цифровых технологий, IT-технологий, а также различных академических лексикографических источников. So we can just say that this electronic dictionary is multifunctional, user-friendly, easy to use, and this been a word search function included, built in this in the application. Also, the function to preserve words or to save words. Sorry, to save not only words but also this dictionary entries. То есть так называемая словарная статья по-английски это, в общем, dictionary entry, and to share them by using the messengers. Also, we have a built-in Google Translate system in this application, which also allows you to use and to and makes it multifunctional. And currently, we can say that it's probably the largest and most functional electronic dictionary of the Kyrgyz language, Russian Kyrgyz language. And we can say that it's a synergy of digital technologies, IT technologies, and academic lexicographic sources. So you can also предусмотрен режим пролистывания, да? So you can scroll up and down, like you can just read the book and you can just go back and forth in the hard copy. You can also share some material, some information or words by just clicking and by copying the word or a dictionary entry and transmitting it by messengers. And there are other functions like usual functions like copying, saving, and also you can just adapt the size of fonts to yourself. And of course, you can share this application. And I think that I'm running out of my time. And I just, the last thing I just want to show to you is our lexicographic sources, academic sources, which testify to the fact that this is not simply just a small dictionary. It's based on, first of all, Professor Yudahin's dictionary and other later dictionaries created by my dad, by his colleagues, by his partners, and also some academic Russian sources, Russian dictionaries, and Ozhegov's dictionary, Dahl's dictionary, etc. So that's probably all, and just by that I just want to wrap up.
Thank you very much, Aida. Our next presenter is Gulzada Nurmamatova. Her paper is about symbols in nomadic people, the case in the example of folklore.
Саламатсыздар, урматтуу конференциянын катышуучулары. Менин докладымдын темасы көчмөн элдеринде символдор, кыргыз фольклордук чыгармалардын мисалында. Эң алгач көчмөн же болбосо номад терминине токтолуп кетели. Буга чейин көптөгөн окумуштуулар өздөрүнүн аныктамасын берип келиптир, бирок негизги Все. Вот. Негизги критерийлер катары бул 3 критерийди карасак болот. Бул чарбачылыктын басымдуу түрү катары мал чарбачылыгы менен алектенүү, жайлоодо малды жыл бою же белгилүү бир мезгилде кармоо, жайыт чарбачылыгынын керектөөлөрүнө жараша белгилүү бир жайыт аймактарын чегинде пайдалануу, көчмөндөргө тиешелүү эң негизги өзгөчөлүк болсо, бул көчүп конуп жүрүү болуп эсептелинет. Ал эми көчмөн эли катары кыргыздар. Кыргыз эли билебиз, түрк элдеринин арасында эң байыркы элдердин бири. Алардын ооз-эки чыгармачылыгында фольклордук символдор аябай бай сакталып калган. Бул символдордун мааниси эмне? Бул символдор кыргыздардын көркөм ассоциативдик ой жүгүртүүсүнүн калыптанышына эбегейсиз зор таасирин тийгизип, улуттук өзгөчөлүк менен сугарылган этникалык, этнопсихологиялык коддордун ролун аткарат. Кийинки теориялык жактарга көрөп токтолбой эле коет окшойм, баарыңыздар чарчапсыздар. Символ деген эмне? Бул баарыбыз билебиз, символ бул маани, мазмун жана түшүнүк менен туюлат. Негизги символдордун коомдун идеологиясы камтылган элементтердин бири экендиги өзгөчө маанилүү, идеянын, ойдун визуалдык көрүнүшү деп айтсак болот. Символ эки элементтен турат. Биринчиси маани, экинчиси чагылдыруу. Мааниси интеллектуалдыкка туюнтуу болсо, формага байланыштуу болот. Символдорду мындай караганда өтө жөнөкөй деп кабыл алганыбыз менен, бирок символдор булар маанилик атрибуттары ар кандай болот. Сингулярдуу болбойт, көпчүлүк убакта кандай болот? Коннотативдүү, же болбосо көп маанилүү болот. Ошол эле учурда бир эле символ бир канча карама каршы мааниге да ээ болушу мүмкүн. Мисалы, жылан бул чыгыш элдеринде жамандыкты гана билдирбестен, ошол эле мезгилде айыктырууга да ишарат кыларын билебиз. Ошол символдордун эң маанилүүлөрүнүн бири болсо, оң түс символ болуп эсептелинет экен. Оң түскө биз тарыхтан билебиз, адамдар байыркы доордон бери эле оң түс символдоруна кызыгып келишкен. Негизги түстөр булар ак, кызыл, кара жана сары болуп саналат. Бул бардык дүйнө элдеринин фольклорунда, дүйнө элдеринин символдорунда кездешкен түстөр да булар. Ал эми кыргыз фольклорунда түстөргө келип карасак, бул жерде дагы кара, ак, көк жана сары бар экен. Биз ошол оң түстөрдүн символдорун эрттөштүк чыгармасынын, эрттөштүк эпосунун негизинде карап изилдөө жүргүздүк. Ак түс бул улуулукту, адилеттүүлүктү, башкарууну жана лидерликти туюнтат. Мисалдарга карайлы. Душманга каршы аттанган баатырдын кийген кийимдери, колдонгон буюмдары, курал жарактары дагы ак түсү менен байланышкан. Мисалы, ак кула менен 40 тулпар ак олпок тонун кийди эле, теп сууруп алды эле, 6 кулач ак шамшар, ак сарайга бастырдым дейт. Андан кийинки мааниси бул кишинин жашынын өйдөлөп калгандыгын билдирет. Мисалы, ак селдеси башында дейт, ак сакалдуу болуптур дейт. Ушул эле учурда аялдарга карата дагы ак түс бул жаштын өйдөлөп калгандыгын билдирген. Мисалы, карайлы, ак байбиче кулайым, саамай чачы ак болду. Андан кийинки сулуулукту билдирүүчү, кооздукту билдирүү үчүн дагы ак түсү колдонулган. Мисалы, ак тамагы балкылдап, ак кылжадай маңкайып, кызыл алтын, ак күмүш. Ошол эле мезгилде колукту жана келин түшүнүгүн билдирүү үчүн дагы ушул ак түс колдонгон экен. Мисалы, ак жоолук башын буубасын ата, буубапсың ата дейт. Демек, бизди үйлөндүрбөпсүң деген мааниде. Ошондой эле ак түс бул адилет, туура деген дагы маани билдириптир. Мисалы, ак экен менин ишим деп. Кара түсү буга чейин дүйнөлүк мифологияда жалаң гана кара санатайлыктын, жамандыктын, аза түсү катары кабыл алынган болсо, ал эми кыргыздардын түшүнүгүндө бул түс эки мааниде, оң жана терс мааниде колдонулат. Мисалы, күчтүү эр жүрөк маанисинде эртөштүктүн күчтүүлүгүн, сырттандыгын чагылдырууда, мисалы кайран жандан ошондо кара сырттан эртөштүк дейт. Ошондой эле кара түстүү малды чагылдырууда да колдонушкан. Сан кара малга ээ эле кара атакеңдин сан кара. Кара ошол эле учурда киши көпчүлүк калайык калк дегенде маани билдирген. Калың кара мусулман, кара жердин үстүндө караргандын баары ыйлайт дейт. Сулуулукту билдирүүчүдө да кара түстү колдонушкан. Мисалы ботодой кара көзү бар. Терс мааниде мисалы өлүү, өлүм, айрылуу, аза маанисинде кара жерге салганда. Ниети бузук, жаман айлуу маанисинде кара жолтой бул камкор. Кара ошондой эле кырсык маанисинде да кездешет экен. Кара баскан тогуз уул түшүп кетти түбү жок кара кулдукка. Көк түсү. Көк түсү туугандар биздин түрк элдеринде өтө чоң, өтө ыйык түстөрдүн бири. Ал бир эле мезгилде теңир жараткан деген мааниде да колдонгон. Мисалын карайлы, төбөсү бүтө көк урсун, төшү түктүү жер урсун. Көк ошол эле мезгилде асман чексиздик деген да маани билдирген. Мисалдарга карасак болот. Дагы бир кызык бул жерде бир мисал бар. Бул өжөр, эр жүрөк, баатыр деген да мааниси бар экен. Көк төбөдөй көрүнөт, дагы эмне дейт? Көк камандай чамынып. Өлбөгөн күндү көрүүчү, төштүк баатыр болсоң көк болгон. Сары. Сары түс бул кыргыздарда көбүнчөсү мындай терс мааниде колдонулган экен. Өлбөстүн күнүн көрөмүн төштүк, сары оору болуп саргардым төштүк. Дагы эмне дейт? Көзүм жетпейт. Бая калган катыны качан келет деп саргайып сары саман түсүнө түшүп. Демек саргайган, күтүү, сагыныч, оору сыркоону биз сары түс менен берген экенбиз. Ошондой эле байлыктын түсүн сары түстө кабыл алышкан. Сары алтын деген мисалдар да бар. Мисалы, жыйынтыктап айтканда бул символдор коомдун идеологиясы камтылган маанилүү элементтердин бири экендигин жогоркуда мисалдардан байкадык. Демек бизге чейинки коомдун өткөн доордо кандай идеяларга ээ болгон, дүйнөгө жашоого болгон көз карашын жана кандай шарттарда жашап келгенин билүү үчүн алар кайсы символдорду колдонуп, бул символдорго кандай маанилерди бергендигин изилдеп чыгуу бул өтө маанилүү. Учурдагы көчмөн элдердин дүйнө таанымын, этникалык, этнопсихологиялык коддордун белгилерин аныктоодо да оңтү символикасы маанилүү орунда турарын айтууга болот. Рахмат, баарыңыздар чарчадыңыздар, мен да чарчаптырмын, кечиресиздер.
Thank you very much. And now my as a fourth presenter, my co-author's presentation is about Tengrianism and shamanism beliefs of nomadic people in Kyrgyzstan. So can I have my presentation, please? Yes. My co-authors are Mukaram Toktogulova from American University of Central Asia Anthropology Department, and Baytur. Baytur is also Toktosunov. He's a freelance researcher. So we tried here to look at the aim of our research was to look at traditional practices based on Tengrian and shamanistic beliefs of nomadic people in Kyrgyzstan that they have been revived since during USSR last 30 years after independence. We've seen a process of revival of these shamanistic and Tengrian beliefs in our current society. So these are our research questions. This is an ongoing research, and our documentary film is like 1 hour long. So we are now working, polishing it and making more meaningful. Here I will show you only 10 minutes, which is a short version. So we look at how they perceive their role, and also all of these research questions, like which practices, which rituals they have now, and also how they relate to religion policy in Kyrgyzstan, and specifically to Islam. currently. And so our methodology is oral history. We went to regions, to remote regions in Narin, Talas, Issyk-Kul, and Chuy. So we have taken only northern part of Kyrgyzstan for now, but in the future, south also may be taken to do comparative analysis. So we have interviewed 12 participants in these regions who are practicing shamanism and Tengrian practices, and this oral history methodology provided us with the opportunity to give the voices to these shaman people and Tengrian people. As you know, during Soviets, there was no opportunity for them to publicly or openly practice their rituals, and both all religions were prohibited, and so they couldn't practice it well. But after the independence, they started reviving this, looking back to their roots, and also reviving these practices. And also the Islam started the spread of Islam in Kyrgyzstan, and this also influenced the Tengrian and shamanistic practices in Kyrgyzstan. So it's a short, I need to talk only 5 minutes because my video is 10 minutes, so I will pass this literature review. The main researchers of shamanism and Tengrianism are like Olmarks, Noradze, Harva, and Karjalainen. They define this in Altai, in Yakutsk, in Buryats, in a wider Eurasian region, how shamanism is practiced. Sorry. If we look at nomads, it's a phase of nomads, Koko Tengri, as Gulzada, previous speaker, talked about the color blue, which is kök, gök in Turkish, blue sky god, Koko Tengir, the creator. So in Tengrianism, it means God. This is famous lines from Kultegin, when the blue sky was created above, the sky is God, and below the brown earth, between them the sons of man were created. So if you look at petroglyphs, open sky museums in Jalalabad, in Issyk-Kul, you will see sun men, also in petroglyphs encrypted, both in Tamgali in Kazakhstan, also petroglyph museums, open air museums. So you can see that sons of man. Kodar also looked at Koko Tengir and Tengrianism a lot. The cult of ancestors. In nomadic people, they also pray ancestors. They believe that ancestors protect us, and they worship in mazars, and they visit this like ziyarat they make. Phase of nomads, our interviewee, one of the historians, Bakhtabek Isakov, also saying that as nomads lived in Bozuy, Yurta, which is Alachik, in mountains, they could feel nature. They were close to nature. They could see rain, snow, thunder, and storms and wind. So that's why the animism and totemism had a huge influence, and it's still continuing in nomadic life. And the religion couldn't penetrate or influence in nomadic life because nomadic people were living in a harsh climate conditions. That's why they carried, and they didn't build like mosques, like in settled sedentary other neighboring countries like Tajikistan or Uzbekistan. They carried faith within themselves wherever they went. It was a mobility. So we looked at healers here in Kyrgyzstan. These are Emchi Domchu and Tabupchılık. Emchi means healing ability, which passes from generation to generation, from father to son or from mother to daughter. They heal by holding the veins or looking at the face. They diagnose which illness they have and then they heal them. Tabupchılık also this, and also lifting up the heart. For example, this woman, Emchi woman in Naren, is saying that her sister and brother also has this ability to heal. It was passed from their mother. And this is also girne. Girne is taking out from you a negative energy. So like in Turkic root and Turkic nations, also they have this blue, like kozmonchok, so they, which protects kids and all others from negative energy. So healing with energy, negative energy, positive energy, also they use, healers use this energy to heal. So girne, they, for example, they do suk and they use 7 flavors like bread and others and put it on different parts of the body of ill people and give it to a dog and say they suk. But they also use like Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, like in from Quran recites like a surah from Quran. They have Quran books, so they try to mix to use both Islam and Tengrianism rituals together. Jaychılık, this Kalima Apa from Jeti Ögüz, Tong region in Isikul, she, Jaychi is a khasiyet, is a power. They manage climate. They can stop rain, they can stop wind, or they can, it's believed that they can start a wind or start a rain, so they manage climate. So this Jaychılık is also like a powerful Jaychis could even stop earthquakes. So it's believed, according to Talantali Bakchiv. So this Kalimanapa was always living in a mountain with her husband as a shepherd, and the people believe that she could even stop thunderstorms. So in there, when we did oral history, she's telling stories how she managed the climate. Like, it was really interesting. So I will show you some scripts from these interviews, because this is 12 interviews. I will show only 2-3 of them, so time is limited. Video, please.
Таопчылык дейбиз. Таопчылык дагы өзү жалпы жолуна биз аны таопчылык деп коебуз, бирок таопчылыктын дагы ичинен бөлүштүрө турган мындай бир категориялары бар да. Ошол эле тамыр кармап оорун тапкан адам анан анын аяк тура турган жолдорун түшүндүргөн. Ошол эле мезгилде деген тамырын кармабай туруп эле көзүнөн көрүп эле, кебете кечпирин көрүп туруп эле айта турган оорусун аныктап, анан ошого дарылай турган жолдорун аныктап берген адам. Бул таопчылык. Мисалы
Bir 2000 жылдык тил алсынчы Кыргызстандын тарыхы. 2000 жылда кыргыздар эмне деген ишенимдерди баштан өткөрүштү да. Балким кайсы жерден келди алар атеист болгон бир учурда. Кайсы жерден келди алар толугу менен шаманга ишенип турган ушулар болгон. Кайсы бир бөлүгү бир учурда отко сыйынып турган, кайсы бир учурда арбакка сыйынып турган. Кыргыздар өздөрүнүн түбү Алтайдан, Ненседен келген да. Ал жактын эң чоң жана негизги жергиликтүү элдердин кылымдар бою карманган дини эмес, шаманизм ишеним болот да, дин эмес. Ишеними бул шаманизм болгон да. Кыргыздардын жанагы Алтайдан, тиги немеден, Энсе тараптан келген бул чындык. Эң эле жөнөкөй канагандай урууларына карабайсыз, багыш дейт. Кара багыш, сары багыш уруулар, чоң уруулар да. Бул чөлкөмдөрдө багыш жашабайт.
Emeli Türkiye'ye gittiğimde 2000 yılın düşkülü. Çok peygamberler.
She managed climate,
Anlattım
stops
gidevine.
rains.
Anam Kırgız kitaptan, Kırgız. İliment okuduğum bir toğanın üyünde. Hayalda para var abi. Onları tekrar ettim. Artık mene böyle, küt. Ama sonra devin artık olan. Kapatırken tutup da gibi. Yürüktüm var tağılan. Sonra kitapta açık kalmadım.
Көчмөн турмушта, табият койнунда жашаган алачык, боз үй, катуу жаан жаса да угуп турат, мөндүр жаса да угуп турат, шамал болсо дагы бир кайсы бир күчтөн коркуп турат. Ошондой учурда көчмөндүктө жанагындай анимизм, тотемизм дегендер өтө күчтүү болгон, жана бул эч кандай немесин жоготкон эмес, күчтүүлүгүн жоготкон эмес. Тескерисинче дин терең сиңе алган эмес. Ошон жанагындай бактаракка сыйынгандары, атабан арбагана сыйынгандары ошол көчмөндүн табияттын оор шарттын ичинде жашоосун курганы менен байланыштуу.
Varlığın belgisi, varın bizde tavılbay, harbilerin belgisi, önce tavılsın degende düşünde. İlerler. Raklarının önünde çoğu. Bunlar çıkıyor mu?
Siz o şekilde
Bunun denelersin, artık yargandağı açıp kayra açılacak mı? Yapmadı, gelmemeli.
Мисалы мына биз Калыйман апанын мисалында айтсак болот. Калыйман апа өмүр бою Советтер Союзунун мезгилинде малчы болуп кой багып келди. Коро кой багып, адам буту баспаган сыртта тоонун койнунда жайгышып кой багып келди. Мына тоонун койнунда жашайт деген ошол жерде жүрүп анан жанагы жайчылык касиетке ээ болуп атат. Албетте ал жайчылык касиети деген ал кишиге берилгени менен анын өзүндө эле ошол касиеттин бир данеги бар болчу да. Данеги бар болчу, себеби анын атасы өзү манасчы болчу. Ошол атасы аркылуу ошо Калыйман апага башка түрдө манасчылык эмес, мүмкүн өзүнө ылайык, өзүнүн табиятына, өзүнүн анатомиясына, өзүнүн мүмкүнчүлүгүнө жараша чакталуу ушул касиетти ээ болду. Алды ошол касиетти. Ал жайчылык болду. Мына
Жайчы деген күндү ачып шамал борон келиппи. Чакманын ачып коесуң, токтотуп кичине. Анан Кудай Тааланын күнүн мен ачам, мен эметем дебей.
Жайчылык деген бул биринчи кезекте аба ырайына, айлана чөйрөгө таасир эте турган адам. Күн жаадырып күн токтото турган, шамал чакырып шамалды токтото турган, эң күчтүү жайчылар керек болсо жерди титиретип же жерди титирөөнү токтото турган адамдар болгон да. Мына ушуларды жайчы дейт.
Менин чоң молдо Ыбрайым деген таакен бар болчу. Айбай молдо. А киши оросо кармаган немелердин баары ошо киши асан чакырмайынча бүт жан жабылып эшикке отуруп качан кыйкырып бүткөндө асан бүткөндө анан кирип анан үйгө кирип ооз окуп атат. Ошо кишинин нерси бар. Анан мен кичирээк кызмын да, жайлоодо. Ооба кара кыз берке жаныма отур. Анан ким ошондор келет. Жүрөгүн көтөрүп берчи ата. Анан мен койчу. Багылардын түптөп калам да. Анан жүрөгүн көтөрөт. Анан оосул болгондорду. Мен деп. Анан киринле киргизип, немет балдарын көтөрүп келип ошолор киринле карап отуруп. Кой жайып коюп отуруп, ал иштелип отурат, таягын таянып, мен делип кое бербейт жанымда. Мен эмне кармап отурат, мен деле барамын деп. Анан келип кемпирлер келип кобурашып отурушат, бирдемелерин айран сайран алып келип берет, анан ичет, этин алып келип берет. Ке, алдыңа кетейин, ке кой деп мага берип коет. Жеп отурбосо, ошо кичтен эметип калганбы билбейм. Анан кирене кириптир деп калышат. Киренесин киренелейт.
Киренелегенде кантип киренелейт?
Киренелегенде бир кесипти алып, кепизамдын башын саласың, кепизам. Анан кесипти алып, анан барып мүчөсүн баарына тийгизип, таманынан өйдө, чокусунан өйдө баарына тийгизип киренелейсиң. Булардын баарына, мүчөлөрдүн баарына тийгизип, анан 3 күн ошентип эметип, анан сук-сук кылып күчкө, итке. Эле биз стымылда деп эле, келине келип эле стымылда деп эле. Андай сөздү билбейм. Анан таякен деле үйрөткөн эмес го. Адел унчукпай эле маңдайында отура берсин. Ысымылдараак марак менден колум элин түштүн Кудай колдосун деп эле өзүм ичимен айтып эле эмендим деп койгом мен.
Thank you very much. And so we are concluding our panels, and maybe if you have any questions to our speakers.
Actually, what do you think Tengrism actually is? Is it a polytheistic religion or a monotheistic religion? Is it a religion at all? Is it shamanism or animism? Like, which ism would you put it into? Have you come to any conclusions like that? Thank you. Tengrism is not a religion, it's a faith. It's not like Islam or Christianity. It has also elements of, according to some scholars, elements of Buddhism, like it's a belief, it's a faith. Of nomadic people and semi-nomadic people, and it can be found in many other places except for Eurasian region, also in North America, in South America, even in Europe, in Spain, they have also tribes. So this nomadic people's faith wasn't religion, according to most scholars, but some scholars also say that it has also religious elements inside. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elira, and I'm really glad to see how this project started to develop, because we talked about it 2.5 years ago, and here we go. It's sort of interesting data. Couldn't understand, unfortunately, the interviews much. But can you tell me, please, are you planning to look at the receiving end? So who are the customers of modern shamans? Do the people go like for medical healing? What about some sort of psychological support? Is it developing also among sort of city dwellers? Like people who live in the cities, are they going to see shamans? Are they going to the village to see shamans? Or is it an infrastructure which is appearing in the city as well? Just a few questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, the modern Kyrgyz people also go to shamans, and not only for healing, but also to open their way. They say to be successful in business, in politics, in whatever they do. They believe that they bring success, and also they go to as a psychological support also, and purify, also getting rid of negative energy, and to heal themselves mentally also, because they maybe because of the low level of healthcare system, they go to healers, but still it's about faith. They believe in that. And city dwellers also go, and they are reviving. We have more and more healers, both in regions, in the city, and also they go to improve also their relationships with other people. So they believe in this. But yes, these interviews, these healers also they are also using elements of Islam, Quran, and others. So they mix these Kyrgyzstan rituals with Islamic rituals also. So it's a hybrid.
Thank
you again one more time, and other participants and the lecturers who brought a very interesting topic. I have a question to Elira. So while you were conducting interviews with the people who were practicing shamanism and the other Kyrgyzstan, were you able to see in reality the result of their practicing as a Kyrgyzstan or shamanism? Because there are some people who are actually very skeptical to these two topics. And the second question is, what about your own opinion? Is it really happening till nowadays, the shamanism and Kyrgyzstan, or it's just only the blurred types of topic and beliefs that we have still? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, nowadays also like in Kochor, when you were coming to Naran, you have seen there is a black mountain, Karato, and it's a symbol of leadership and power. So most politicians nowadays also come here to pray, and they ask for power to come to, I don't know, parliament or to White House. Still, even modern Kyrgyz also come to this kind of sacred mountains. They visit and they worship. So when you see this modern, reviving of these practices, you see they have there is a demand also, and there is also healers, more and more healers offering these kind of services, energy, working with energy, mostly from Kazarman, from Tolstoro. There are also people, they have energy on their hands and feet. So they use it, huge massage therapy network in Bishkek. They use energy with their hands and feet to do massage and at the same time healing. And this is also a huge business. This is a mix of everything. Both beliefs and turning back, looking at their roots, what their ancestors used to do in terms of healing and psychological help, and also demand and these services. So I think that these are all mix of everything. In modern Kyrgyzstan, you can see this all over in the regional level also.
Is it a question? Do you have a question?
Thanks. Thanks, Sylvia. That was wonderful. My question is about any connections between Tengrism, as you described, particularly the environmental awareness that Tengrism gives, between sky and earth, gods, and men, and so forth, and the environmental movement, contemporary environmental movements. Do you see any alliances between this ancient tradition and contemporary concerns?
Yes, thank you very much. This is what I missed in our presentation, environmental concern, the connection of nomads to nature. So nomads believe that everything has AAC, the owner, even a spring where water, spring has owner, mountain has owner, owner, AC. And that if they pollute the spring or if they pollute the lake, these owners will be upset and there will be no spring anymore. So they protected nature because they were afraid that the owner will punish them. So that's why this totemism, animism. So even the house has an owner, and so they protected nature as much as they could. They were also afraid of all of these natural catharsis and environmental crises like flood and slopes, mountain slides, etc. So they that's why they protected the nature. This is they prayed for powers, earth and going this fire and water and so this natural these four powers they believed and they tried to preserve or protect it to leave it to the next generation.
Thanks. Can I just follow up with, does this actually translate into practical alliances between, say, rural practitioners of Tengrism and climate action campaigners? Are there conversations between these groups?
Yes, we have a green movement like against the gold mining companies and silver and copper mining companies, like Jitimto in Naren also. They didn't allow to open this gold mining company, it's a Chinese company, because they think that Jitimto, this mountain where the gold is, has its owner also. And they need to protect this mountain. So, and also glaciers in Kumtur, in Isikul, with Kumtur mining company, to save glaciers. And so mostly these big gold mining companies, they are polluting, blowing up our glaciers. So digging and not following international standards. So that's why this green movement we have, and they are actively protesting against this kind of using natural resources. It's decent movement.
Really? No, just one thing exact. I wanted to ask that if there is any question to Gulzada, Setback, and Aida.
I actually wanted to ask a question which relates the observations on Manas to your relations on Greek, because and it follows up on Michael's question, also on Elena's question. Because what interests me, and maybe I'm reading too much into your analysis, but it seems to me there are connections because you were also underlining the harmony with nature, but also the harmony among human beings, both within one's own society and in relation to other societies. And you were setting your analysis in this context of the end of the Soviet Union. And so my question is in how far you see what you're observing also as, in a sense, as addressing a political question in this broad sense, that there is something collective to develop and safeguard, and older regimes have either crumbled or the Western ideology doesn't answer these questions. I mean, would you consider that what you're looking at should be seen in such a context of addressing that kind of political questions in this particular historical moment? Actually for both of you, I think you probably know that in the Andean countries in Latin America, there are indigenous movements who talk about Mother Nature, and they do it not directly, I think, in a religious way, but more in the sense of drawing on the stories one tells about one's own history. So I see connections, maybe they are not there, but I just wanted to bring them up.
Okay, I will start and see if we can continue. Yes, we have like also this in terms of epics, Manas and Erdősdük and Konyogyas, like which is hunting wild animals. So it has always been in our literature and storytelling, because Kyrgyzstan nomads for oral communication and passing knowledge, tacit knowledge from generation to generation orally. In terms of ideological, yes, this hybrid Kyrgyz or hybrid Muslim, like this scholarly research on Islam in Central Asia also refers to, that this is a mix of everything, like partly Islamic also values, nomadic, shamanism, temperamentism, and Soviet and post-Soviet, I mean, all of this modernity, so post-modernity, so all of this hybrid identity of Kyrgyz is also an object of study of many scholars, and all of this ideology of Kyrgyzstan, like when we became independent, they mentioned 7 orders of Manas. Manas Tanjiti Osyati was our first ideology after independence, but it didn't work out. And now, because it's very ancient, 1,000 years old epic, and these ancient values, will they work now in modern conditions? Because they might be outdated and may not work. So now we have a huge ideological also term, which is called Kyrgyz Jarane, Kyrgyz citizen, which was adopted by our government, which is inclusive of all, not only Kyrgyz title nation, but Uzbek, Uyghurs, and many other minorities, religious, ethnic minorities living in Kyrgyzstan. This can be an answer, but which is the elements of environment, also protecting environment. Yeah, see, they can continue.
So thank you for questions. So you are right about those contents that we are trying to understand in here, or those historical contents or historical knowledge also can be changed sometimes periodically in the political perspective. So it was changed, and some scholars also mentioned that scholars also mentioned to look up to the Trot once again, because in the different periods, those Trot also how do you say, described in a different way according to their own political perspective. So those practices, of course, in here we mean those practices, persuasion practices, and the audience attractiveness to those persuasion. We are trying to just only describe this. And about the monosyllabic, of course, monosyllabic consists from the different practices and different historical contexts. For example, some of the stories are taken by the religious, for example, contents. Some of them are from, as we mentioned, from different Kyrgyz nations, for example. Some of them are from completism, some might be. Some of them are from different thoughts, values. All of them are composed and shaped in the as an epic. So, and it includes different practices, so different knowledge as well. So that's why after 1990s, Manas epic once again rewritten. And before that it was different, differently described, differently, how do we say, delivered to the society. So from that point, scholars always look after the tries to find out better, more trustful or valid information.